The 2014 Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, or EDCA, gave U.S. forces access to 5 bases in the Philippines.
If you thought the Philippines was just famous for beaches and boxing champions, think again, because it's quietly building something massive that could flip the balance of power in the South China Sea. We're talking about a 3-kilometer military runway and an upgraded naval base sitting right on the edge of the West Philippine Sea. Balabac Island isn't just another tropical postcard anymore. It's becoming the newest chess piece in the U.S.-Philippine alliance game. And here's the kicker. This is now the longest military runway the country has ever built. Only 140 nautical miles from Mischief Reef, one of Beijing's favorite artificial fortresses. This isn't construction. It's a statement written in concrete, radar, and jet fuel. Balabac used to be all turquoise waters and sea turtles. Now it's radar towers, satellite coverage, and naval patrols. The Philippine Air Force and Navy teamed up to carve a 3-kilometer runway, long enough to host C-130s and maybe even heavier aircraft down the line. The plan? Make it joint use for both military and civilian operations, because nothing says tropical getaway meets tactical deterrence, quite like a base staring across the South China Sea. And if you think it's just a lonely runway, hold that thought, because the other side of the island is turning into a mini port city for warships. Engineers are building a naval station that could host frigates, amphibious transports, maybe even destroyers. Imagine a pier so long satellites need to zoom out twice just to frame it. It's a $5.5 million project funded by Manila itself. Proof the Philippines isn't just renting out real estate to its allies, it's investing in its own muscle. There's also a beach ramp and logistics area designed for everything from humanitarian relief to full-scale operations. So why the sudden rush? 2 words: regional tension. For years, China has been busy turning reefs into fortresses, stacking missile launchers on sandbars, and accidentally cruising through other nations' exclusive zones, because apparently geography is optional now. The Philippines, backed by that 2016 Hague ruling that China completely ignored, decided it was time to stop being polite and start building presence. Balabac gives them front-row seats to one of the most contested waterways on the planet, barely a hop away from Mischief Reef itself. And this is where things get interesting. The U.S. is very much in the picture, thanks to the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, or EDCA. Think of EDCA as a military Airbnb. Washington gets rotational access, Manila gets infrastructure upgrades, and everyone else gets a headache in Beijing. Through this deal, the U.S. can pre-position gear, rotate troops, and pour funding into base improvements across 9 sites, including Balabac. It's America's way of saying, we're back in town, and we brought the big toys. Meanwhile, Pag-asa Island, also called Thitu, is getting its own extreme makeover. The Philippines just extended its runway there, now officially the longest island airstrip in the country. Big enough for C-130s and heavy transports, it lets the military resupply and reinforce its farthest western outpost, right in the middle of disputed waters. They've even added a new hangar and control tower, so arrivals and departures run smoother than Manila traffic. Pagasa isn't just a military base anymore. It's a civilian community too, complete with families, fishing boats, and a flag that says, yes, this is ours. But here's the real twist. While Pagasa stands as the symbol, Balabac is the spearhead. What's happening there is just one node in a much bigger network. A web of 28 forward operating bases stretching from Luzon to Palawan, powered by U.S. funding, and a 2040 strategic basing plan that's quietly redrawing the Pacific map. If you thought the Philippines was all beaches and boxing champions, think again, because it's quietly building something massive that could shake up the South China Sea. Meet Balabac Island, once a sleepy paradise, now home to the country's longest military runway and a naval base just 140 nautical miles from China's Mischief Reef. This isn't a construction project, it's a warning written in concrete and jet fuel. The 3-kilometer airstrip, built for both the Air Force and the Navy, can handle C-130s and heavy transports. On the other side of the island, a new naval pier is being constructed long enough to host frigates and amphibious ships. It's a $5.5 million upgrade funded by Manila itself. Proof the Philippines isn't just renting out its land, it's investing in its muscle. Why now? 2 words: South China Sea. For years, Beijing has been turning reefs into fortresses and accidentally patrolling other nations' waters. But this time, the Philippines isn't sitting still. Backed by the 2016 Hague ruling and a revived alliance with Washington, it's building presence instead of making protests. And speaking of Washington, enter EDCA, the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. Think of it as military Airbnb. The U.S. gets rotational access and the Philippines gets billions in upgrades. Under Edca, 9 bases across the country are being modernized. Balabac is just the newest and boldest. It's part of a larger web of runways and ports stretching from Luzon to Palawan, all linked to America's Pacific Deterrence Initiative, the polite name for countering China. Up north, the Basa Air Base is getting a $32 million upgrade with a parking apron big enough for 20 aircraft. Down south, Balabac becomes a refueling hub for joint patrols. It's all connected, a quiet network of bases turning the archipelago into one massive Pacific launch pad. Meanwhile, Pagasa Island, right in the Spratlys, now has an extended runway, a new hangar, and a control tower. It's not just a military outpost anymore, it's a community with families and fishing boats living under a very clear message: this is ours. China's been watching all this unfold, and let's just say they're not thrilled. Every pier, every runway, every satellite image of progress in Balabac is a reminder that the Philippines isn't backing down. Unlike artificial islands, these bases sit on real land, built by a nation defending what's already its own. By 2040, the Philippines plans to have 28 forward operating sites across the country. Each one strengthens its claim. Each one tightens the web of deterrence. Small nation? Not anymore. You don't build the longest military runway in the region if you plan on staying small. Because Balabac isn't just an island, it's a statement. A symbol that says, we're ready. We're watching, and we're done being pushed around. And as the concrete settles, one thing's clear: the West Philippine Sea just got a lot smaller for anyone who doesn't belong there. If you made it this far, hit that like button and tell me, will this new base keep the peace or just raise the stakes? Either way, the race for control of the Pacific just got a brand new runway.